Today we're doing fractions, decimals, and percents. First thing you need to know is a percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. Always remember that. A percent is always out of 100. So 90%, they can write that as 90 out of 100, or they write this as a fraction, 90 out of 100, which we would say reduces to 9 over 10. So 9 over 10 is the same thing as 90%. Right? That's all a percent is. It's a ratio that compares a number to 100. It can be less than 1. It can be greater than 100. All right, and we'll do a few examples of that. But it's out of 100. That's what you need to know. Write this down. All right, so part of what you're going to be asked to do today is write a percent as a fraction. 60%. If it's an integer, okay, any number without a decimal or fraction, the easiest thing to do is write the number they give you over 100. All right, remember, because a percent is a ratio of 100, and then reduce it. 6 over 10. I can reduce that to what? 2/5. So anything like 60 or 50 or 40, 25, 99. Anything that doesn't have as a decimal or percent, we can just write it over 100. This would be 3/5. Sorry. Okay, 3/5.
I was wrong. Oh.
Yeah. I was thinking that didn't sound right, but I just went with it. 3/5. Now, that's when it's a whole number. When it's something like 12 and a half, this is what I want you to do. First thing to do, change it to an improper fraction. 12 times 2 plus 1, 25 over 2. And instead of writing it over 100, dividing by 100, I want you to times by 1 over 100. It's the same thing as dividing by 100, timesing by 1 over 100, but this will make more sense and you'll figure it out easier. Okay? You would not cross multiply, you would reduce if you can. Which I can take 25 out of 25 and get 1, 25 out of 100 and get 4. So that leaves me with 1 over 8, because 2 times 4 is 8. And that's my answer. So anytime you have a fraction as a percentage, all right, write it as an improper fraction and times it by 1 over 100. Any questions? No. All right, like I said, if you're changing a percent to a fraction, and you've already have a fraction, the easiest thing to do is write this as an improper fraction. So 20 times 4 is 80, plus 3 is 83, or 4, and then times it by 1 over 100, which is, again, the same thing as dividing by 100. There's nothing that reduces, so you multiply across. This is your answer, 83 over 400. And then if you have a number that's less than 1, okay, first thing you do, write 0.8 over 100. Remember, everything's over 100. But I can't leave a decimal in a fraction. So what I have to do is I have to move that decimal place one place. Does anyone know how I do that? Someone have any idea? What do I do mathematically? I times it by 10. Timesing by 10 moves it one decimal place. That gives me 8. What I do to the top, I have to do the bottom. So that gives me 8 over 1,000. Which does that reduce? Yes, I can take 8 out of both those and I get this. 1 over 125. 175%. I just write it over 100. Remember, everything's over 100. That's all I do. And then I can reduce that to 1 and 75 over 100, which 75 over 100 reduces. You can take 25 out of each of those and you get this, 1 3/4. This is what you need to know when changing a percent to a decimal, or a decimal to a percent, or even a fraction to a percent. You need to know these rules. When writing a percent to a decimal, what we do is we divide by 100 and remove the percent symbol. Really, all we're doing is we're moving the decimal 2 places to the left, because when you divide by 100, you move it 2 decimal places to the left. Let's think about 800 divided by 100. Guess what that is? 8. The decimal point was here. I moved it here. How many places did I move it? 2. So when you divide by 100, all you're doing is moving the decimal place 2 places to the left. And then get rid of the percent symbol. Now when we're going from a percent or a decimal to a percent, what you do is you multiply by 100 and then add the percent symbol. Which really all you're doing is changing the decimal place 2 to the right. When you're making a percent to a decimal, you're making a number smaller. When you're making a decimal to a percent, you're making it larger. So making it smaller, we divide by 100. Making it larger, we multiply by 100. Okay? Let's think about something like 8. When I times that by 100, what do I get? 800. The decimal place went from here to here. How many places did I move it? 2 to the right. So when you multiply by 100, you're going 2 to the right. That's all you need to know. Write this down. Each percent is a decimal. So what you do is you look at your rules. Right? What does it say when we're changing percent to a decimal? What am I going to do?
Move it 2 places.
I'm dividing it by 100, which all you're doing is moving it 2 decimal places to the left. So 16 over 100, or I can just write 0.16. Okay, move it 2 decimal places to the left, I get 0.16. And I'm done. That's my answer. 16% is the same thing as 0.16. 9%, so I divide it by 100, which moves the decimal place 2 places to the left. So I go 1, 2, that gives me this, 0.09. I remove the percent sign, so I get that. Then I have 2%, so I do the same thing. 0.02 is my answer. So even though this number is less than 1, I don't change what I'm doing. I'm dividing by 100, which moves my decimal 2 places to the left. So 1, 2, that makes it 0.007 or 007. All right, any questions? If it's greater than 100, doesn't change anything. My decimal's here, move it to the left. I get 5.37 as my decimal. Nothing wrong with that. When we're writing a decimal as a percent, we look back at our rules. It says we multiply by 100 because you're making a decimal, which is a small number, to a percent, which is a larger number. So we multiply by 100, which all it does is move our decimal place 2 places to the right. So 0.2 becomes 20%. 3.84, I move it 2 places to the right, makes it 384%. And 0.005, move it 2 places to the right, that makes that 0.5%. So half of a percent. Any questions? The last thing we're going to do is express a fraction as a percent. So write this down. So to express a fraction as a percent, the first thing we do is we change the fraction to a decimal. Have we done that before?
Yes.
Yes, we know how to do that. What I do is I take the top number divided by the bottom number. 5 divided by 8. Which, if you know, it comes out to 0.625. Yes, today you will be allowed to use a calculator. So you take 5 divided by 8, you get 0.625. Then you change that decimal to a percent, just like we've been doing. When you're making a decimal to a percent, you times by 100, which moves your decimal place 2 places to the right. So 5 divided by 8 is known as 62.5%. And that's your answer. Now, when you're doing this, it will say round in there's tenth, okay, if necessary. When you take anything divided by 9, do you know what happens?
You
get the number on top repeating, which is 0.7777777 and all the way down, right? Yeah. Right? So the first thing you do is move the decimal place 2 places to the right, and you get 77.7777, and then you round in nearest tenth, which would it be 0.7 or would it be 0.8?
0.8.
0.8. So my answer is 77.8%. That's my answer. 27 over 13. So what I do is I take 27 divided by 13. Which when you do that, it comes out to this. 2.0769230077. And then you move the decimal place 2 places to the right. So you get 207 point, and then you have to decide, do you keep it at 6 or do you round it to 7? 7. There's your answer, 207.7%. Let's do the last one. 3 over 400, so I take 3 divided by 400. You always take the top number, divide by the bottom. When you do that, you get this, 0.0075, which you move the decimal 2 places to the right by timesing by 100. You get 0.75. Now, even though it says round to the nearest tenth, if you do that, you would get 0.8. Which one do you think you rather should get on this, 0.75 or 0.8? 0.75, because you've got 0 out in front of it, and you always want to have 2 significant numbers. So it's better to leave it as this. Okay, 0.75%.
It was like 0.68. Could you change it up?
No, I would leave it. If there's a 0 in front, go 2 decimal places. All right, go to the 100. Here, you have plenty of significant numbers, 20779. So that's why we only went to the 10th. But here you don't have anything up front, so go 2 decimal places. Any questions? All right, here's your assignment.